Welcome to Bug Council of Backyardia. My name is Patrick. I am from Angro Games, and this is our upcoming project. We will be launching on Kickstarter on August 3rd. Feel free to check the description and the link in the description. You can sign up to be notified. As soon as we launch, you'll get an email reminding you of the campaign. And if the project is already live, we would really appreciate your support. We are very proud of this game. We've been working on it for over a year now, and it's been finely tuned and developed. And yeah, we're just really excited to show it off, and we are hoping that with your support, we can bring this project to life. So yeah, let's go ahead and I'm going to give you a brief overview of the game, as well as explain the Tabletopia, which is the simulator we're using, explain the Tabletopia instance so that you can jump in and give the game a shot if you would like. So first, let's talk about what we are looking at. So right now we're looking at a setup for 3 players. And we do have a setup for 2 players, 4 players, and 5 players as well in the Tabletopia interface. And there will be a solo mode in the game. However, that is still in development, so you will not be able to try that. In this 3-player setup, we have 3-player areas here. The first being purple. You'll see that there is a flag. This is called the allegiance flag. There are 2 cards. These are declaration cards, and the purple player happens to have the first player marker. Similarly, the white player has the flag and the declaration cards, and same thing for the yellow player. On the right here, we have the council member cards. These are basically used for just setting up the game, giving it a random initial setup in the Mancala, which is the next point we'll talk about here. Here's the board. It features 5 spaces for our 5 factions. We have ants, mosquitoes, bees, flies, and cockroaches. In addition, we have a central space. This is the council chambers, and I'll explain why that's important later on in this video. And we have the player scoring markers. They are set at 0 right now, but they will be moved up at the end of every age, depending on how many points they score. And finally, on the left here, we have the actual playing cards. There are 60 playing cards in total, 1 through 12 of each of the 5 suits. However, in a 3-player game, you're going to remove the 11 and 12s, and in a 4-player game, you're going to remove the 12s. In a 5-player game, you use the entire deck. I should also mention at a 2-player game, it's still also you remove the 11s and 12s as if it were a 3-player game. I've gone ahead for the purpose of this video, I've gone ahead and dealt out the cards. But when you first get in to your instance, you're going to right-click here, click Shuffle, and then go to the deal and deal out 11 cards to each player. This is one of 2 things that you'll have to do when you enter your instance of Tabletopia. The other thing you'll have to do is set up the council. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So the ants are going to receive 4 strength cubes, and these cubes here represent the strength of the faction. Next one is going to be the flies. The flies are going to get 3 cubes. And this is all just part of the initial setup. So each game you'll have a random distribution. The cockroaches have 2. And finally, the bees get 1. So we just move these to the side. They won't be needed for the rest of the game. Now you notice that there's always one faction that receives 0. In this case, the mosquitoes happen to be that faction. So every game, it will have one that has 4, one that has 3, one that has 2, one that has 1, and one that has 0 to start. And now we're pretty much ready to go. So the Bug Council of Backyardia has players set up as essentially the shadow figures, shadow politicians, like working behind the scenes to manipulate these factions for their own benefit. So basically, you're playing Game of Thrones meets A Bug's Life. Yeah, that's your role in the whole thing. It's a fairly simple game, and I'll get into exactly how it's played right now. So the first thing that we're going to do is do the declaration phase. And this happens at the beginning of every age. Just real quick, you'll notice that there are 3 ages. This means at the end of the 3rd age, the game will end and the person that has the most points wins. During the ages, though, the first thing you're going to do is make a declaration. And the way that that works is we are going to take the cards in our the declaration cards into our hand. Oops, let me just put these here. We're going to put the declaration cards into our hands, and then we're going to decide which declaration we're going to make. This is based off of the cards that we have, based off of the current situation. If you're really far behind in points, or if you feel that you have a lot of flexibility with your hand, you may choose to go a different way than somebody who maybe has a bunch of high cards or a bunch of, different situations than you. So the purpose of calling allegiance versus no allegiance, and that's what these 2 cards represent. You see the flags as they should be, and then the burnt up flags. These represent allegiance and no allegiance. What you're saying by playing one of these cards, and you always play it face down. So let's just say, for example, this person's going to call allegiance. What they are saying by doing that is that at the end of 10 tricks, which is the length of the age, they will have an allegiance with one of these 5 factions, meaning they will stake allegiance with the bees or the flies, so forth and so on. If they were to claim no allegiance, they're saying that they will not ally with any of those factions. Now, this is a sort of a shoot the moon mechanic. If you call no allegiance, you are trying to win 0 tricks, not a single trick the entire time. So it's very difficult to pull off, but it's very rewarding if you do. So yeah, that's the purpose of calling it. When I get into the scoring, you'll understand more about how beneficial no allegiance can be, and the risk behind that. So that was the purple player. They did decide to go to call an allegiance. They feel pretty good about their hand, and they think they'll be able to win some tricks. So let's go to the white player here. Okay, so the white player. Oh, I should probably, yeah, let's take these cards into hand. The white player has a pretty mediocre hand. They have a lot of low numbers, not many high numbers. So maybe they feel comfortable taking the risk. So they're going to go ahead and call no allegiance. Looking at the yellow player. Okay, and this is quite a solid hand. I see lots of 8s and 9s here, even a 10. So I think this player will probably play it out, try to win as many tricks as possible. So every player has taken their declaration cards into their hand. They've chosen which one they think is best given their situation. They've put it face down in front of them, and now we are all simultaneously going to reveal. So we already know what's happening here, but if you were playing with other players, you would only know what you've called. And it's interesting because multiple people can call no allegiance or vie for 0 tricks, which obviously, as you can imagine, it's very difficult to win 0 tricks, period. And it's very difficult for multiple people to do that. So it's very uh, sort of a mind game thing going on where you're thinking, oh, is that person going to go, or should I go, or maybe it's not safe. So you're going to have a lot of tension and decision making right from the get-go with this declaration phase. So how do we finish the declaration phase? Now that we've revealed everything, the players that have gone no allegiance are simply going to knock over their allegiance banners. This is just to notate to them and to the other players that they are going no allegiance. It helps to just keep a good reminder of which players are attempting to do that, and also to even remind yourself sometimes if you get caught up in the game. Sometimes you think it's good to win tricks when you're like, oh, yep, I probably shouldn't have gone after that one. Anyway, so this just helps as a little reminder for that. So you knock over that, and then the player who went no allegiance is going to discard 1 card from their hand. So you can discard any card you want, but the choice is pretty important. So let's say, for example, this player wants to short suit themselves. And what I mean by that is they want to get rid of the cockroaches completely from their hand. So now they don't have any cockroaches at all. So they're going to try doing that and see how it plays out. So they discard this, and it's discarded face up. So this gives the players a little bit of information about what they might be going for. For example, the players, the yellow and purple players, may be able to intuit that the white player has no more cockroaches. So that discarding of that card can be important, not only to alter your hand, but also to give the other players information. So now that they have done that, we have completed the declaration phase, and we go on to the trick phase. And this is the main phase of the game. The trick phase has you playing 10 tricks, and each trick is going to have 3 parts. The first part is playing the trick. The second part is resolving the trick. And the third part is visiting the council. So when you are playing the trick, starting with the player that has the lead player marker, you're going to play 1 card from your hand. So let's say, for example, that this player decided to lead with the mosquito. So they play the 9 of mosquitoes. Going in clockwise order, we're going to then follow that. And this is a must follow game. And what that means is, because the first player played a mosquito, each player that follows will have to play a mosquito if they have one. If they don't, they can play any card they want. But if they have a mosquito, they must play one of their mosquitoes. So let's say the white player here, you can see they have 3 mosquitoes, but they're probably going to want to try to get rid of their high mosquito, since, again, they're trying to lose tricks. So they don't want to have a lot of high cards down the stretch that might accidentally win. So they're going to play that card. Then the yellow player only has 1 mosquito, and that's a 6. So they're going to play that. So we've played the trick. Everyone's played a card. Now let's resolve the trick. Resolving the trick depends on which cards are played, but if everyone has played the same suit, such as the case here, so everyone has played a mosquito, it's very simple. You just look at the number. The person that played the highest number is the winner of the trick. In this case, the purple player played a 9, which is the highest number in the trick. They win the trick. So what they're going to do is they're going to collect the cards and take the first player marker. They already have it, but if they didn't, they would take it. And they will get a point for that trick at the end of the age. One thing to keep in mind, though, is the player that played the lowest on-suit card. So in this case, the lead suit is the mosquito. So the lowest mosquito will get to visit the council, which is important in the next step of the trick. So let's go ahead and collect this trick for the purple player. And let's remember that the yellow player is going to get to visit the council. So visiting the council, the way that it works is this is the Mancala portion of the game. This is meant to adjust the strengths of the suits. So you're going to, as the person that visits the council, you're going to choose one of the 5 spaces, and you're going to pick up all the cubes from that space and drop them off in a clockwise rotation. So let's say, for example, because let's take a look at the white player's hand, because their decision may be impacted by this. Okay, so yeah, let's say that they feel pretty confident with the low Bs that they have. So maybe they don't mind making the Bs weak. Let's say they go ahead and do that. So they move 1 cube over to the Bs. If there was more cubes there, they would have kept going until they ran out of cubes. So that's the end of the first trick. Now we're going to go ahead and repeat that until we've played 10 tricks. So let's just speed through a couple ones here and see how things pan out. So remember, the first player is the person with this marker. That is the purple player. Let's say they want to get rid of their mosquitoes. So they play this 3 of mosquitoes. The white player, so they have 2 mosquitoes left. They could play the 2 or the 4. But remember, they're trying to lose tricks, so they may not want to play the 4, because then they would be at risk of actually winning this trick. So maybe they go ahead and play the 2. It's probably the safer play there. The yellow player will then play. Notice that the yellow player has no mosquitoes. What this means is that they can play any card they want. So they're going to take a look at their hand and decide what to play. The neat thing about not having the lead suit or being able to go off suit is that you can actually win a trick with a weaker card. So, for example, if they, I mean, it won't happen in this particular instance, but if they had a 1 of flies and they chose to play that, we're going to resolve the trick in a way that will have the 1 of flies winning. And I'll show that in a second here. So let's just say, for example, they decide to play the cockroaches because they too want to short suit themselves out of a particular suit. This time they play the 8 of cockroaches. So because not all the cards were of the same suit, we are going to look at the council status. In this case, the mosquitoes have 0 strength cubes. The cockroaches have 2. So in this way, the cockroaches are stronger than the mosquitoes. So the winner of the trick is actually going to be the yellow player. And this would actually be the case even if this was a 1. So just pretend for a second that this was a 1 of cockroaches. Even though the 1 is a lower value than the 2 and 3, it's still of the stronger suit and therefore would trump the weaker suit. So that's how you could win with potentially weaker cards if you manage to short suit yourself and get in a position where you can play a card of a stronger suit. So let's go ahead and resolve this trick. The yellow player wins. And remember, it's the person that played the lowest value of the lead suit gets to affect the council. So in this case, the white will get to affect because they played the 2. So going back to the white player, let's take a look at their hand. Let's say so they probably want, so they don't have any cockroaches right now. So maybe strengthening the cockroaches might not be a bad idea for them. So they could do that by affecting the flies or the ants. Let's say they choose to affect the ants. So again, dropping 1 cube off at every space in a clockwise manner. As such, And that concludes their council visit. Now remember, because the yellow player won the trick, they're going to get the first player marker. And now they will be the leader of the next trick. So let's say they lead with 8 of bees. Going on to the purple player. Purple player has a lot of bees, so they could choose. They could play the 10, which would actually win the trick over this 8, or they could play a low bee in hopes to be able to affect the council. But let's say they play this 10. They want to win the trick here. Going on to the white player does have some bees left, so let's say they play this one. So resolving the trick, as you can see, the 10 is the highest card of the suit, and everyone played on suit, so they are going to win. The lowest card on suit was the 4, so the white player will get to affect the council. And when I'm stacking these over here, I'm stacking them up in a way that represents how many tricks you won. I'm doing it somewhat haphazardly, but the important thing is that you can easily see how many tricks you've won at the end of the age, because each trick is going to be worth a point. Back to the council visit, the white player will get to choose again which faction they're going to manipulate. Let's say they move this bees, and I'll explain why they might do that in just a second. So remember, the purple won the trick, so they get the lead player marker, and they will lead the next trick. So let's say they lead with the 6 of cockroaches. White is going to follow. Now notice that the white has no cockroaches, so they can play whatever they want. They wouldn't want to play, remember, they're trying to win 0 tricks, so they likely wouldn't want to play one of these flies, because then they'd be at high risk of winning. So maybe they want to play the bee, ant, or mosquito. Let's say they get rid of, maybe they want to get rid of the 7 of ants, since it's a high card. And then we'll go on to the yellow player. Yellow player has no cockroaches either, so they can play whatever they want. Now they have ants and flies. If they were to play one of the ants, they would lose the trick because the cockroaches are stronger than the ants, or they could play a fly and win the trick. So let's say they want to win the trick. So they'll go ahead and play a fly. So they pay the 5 of flies. They win the trick because the flies have 6 cubes on it. The ants have 0 and the cockroaches have 3. So despite this being the lower value card, it's actually stronger because because the flies have more cubes than the cockroaches. So the yellow player is going to win the trick. Collect the cards and take the first player marker. Now you notice what is interesting about this, because nobody followed the lead suit, meaning there was only one card of the lead suit played, nobody gets to affect the council. So you can imagine, as the round progresses, this council is going to get a little more stagnant, and you're going to be able to strategize better which allegiance you're going to be going for. So moving on to the next trick, our yellow player is going to lead. Let's say the ants are weak, flies are strong, but maybe they want to hold on to their flies for now in hopes that it'll be a good allegiance later. So let's start with the 9 of ants here. Purple player has no ants, so they can play whatever they'd like. So maybe they will play, let's say, a cockroach. So the cockroaches have 3 strength cubes, so this is technically winning the trick at the moment. Moving on to the white player. They have to follow suit, remember, so they will be forced to play this one advance. Again, because there is offsuit play, we're going to look at the council strength. The cockroaches have 3, the ants have 0, therefore the cockroach will win. And the white player played the lowest on suit card, so they will get to affect the council. So let's say they go ahead and they do their maneuver that I was mentioning earlier. They're going to affect the flies. Now you notice that there are 6 cubes on the flies right now, and there's only 5 factions. So what happens in this case? Well, you pick up all the cubes just as you normally would, and you start going clockwise. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you get back to make a full revolution and get back to the space that you started at, you're going to drop 1 cube there. And then any excess cubes that you have will go into what is called the council chambers. And the reason why this is important is because this will act as a bonus for the non-allegiance player at the end of the age. So if they are successful, this will increase the number of points they will get from their non-allegiance. If there happen to be more cubes here, so let's say instead of 6, there were 8, you would still go all the way around, plop 1 onto the flies, and then all of the remaining ones would go into the council chambers. So if you get a faction that gets really big and someone bursts that, like takes all the power away from them, you're going to end up building up this council chambers quite a bit. Okay, so that was the visiting the council. Let's move on to the next trick. I believe the cockroach won that one. So wait, no, sorry. Yeah, the cockroach won, but it was the purple player that did it. So purple leads again. Let's say they want to get rid of their flies to short suit themselves even further, so they play that 3 flies. The white player does have flies left, and they have a high fly, so but they could play the 4 flies, which would be it would be a bit risky, because if the yellow player has a low fly, they might be able to sneak that in and cost the non-allegiance player their success. Let's go ahead and play the 1 of flies for them. The yellow player, they have a bunch of high flies. So let's say they play the 7 of flies here. So again, everyone's on suit. This player is going to win, and the white player is going to affect the council. Okay, so let's say the white player's hand. Now let's say they move the mosquitoes here. And then the yellow player starts the next trick. They're feeling pretty good about those flies, so they're going to lead with that. Purple player doesn't have any flies, but they can actually, interesting. So they could play a bee, but none of their bees are as strong as the fly that was played. And the reason that's important is because both suits have 2 cubes on them. So this hasn't come up yet, I don't believe, but if there's ever an instance where 2 suits are of equal strength, it will come down to the higher value. So in this case, the 9 would be any of the purple's bees. So maybe they want to win the trick, and they'll go ahead and play this 2 of cockroaches instead, because they have 4 strength cubes and they want to win the trick. The white player still has some flies, and they can luckily get rid of this very high fly. here. The purple player will win again because they played the stronger suit, and the white player will again affect the council. So let's say they move the flies as such. And now we'll go to the purple player who will lead the next trick. Okay, so they only have bees left, which means at the end, remember we are playing 10 tricks and every allegiance player will have one card left over for their allegiance. So this player knows that their allegiance will in fact be bees. So what they're going to try to do now is try to build up the bees as much as possible so that they can get a nice allegiance bonus. Let's say they start off with the 2 of bees for now. The white player has to follow, so they have a 3 of bees, and this is dangerous for them because if the yellow player has a 1 of bees, or if they don't have any bees and play a weak card, then the white player may in fact win this trick. And that is the case. They could play, the yellow player could play this 10 of flies, which would mean the white player would win. And that would mean they are not successful in their no allegiance. Again, I'll get into what that means during scoring. But it's definitely an option for the yellow player if they want to mess up this white player strategy. But let's say they're more concerned about winning the trick than they are about messing up their opponent. Maybe they would just really want to get the points for themselves. So let's say they play this 4 of ants instead. Now you notice that this is a situation where we've played offsuit. There's 2 cubes on the bees and 2 cubes on the ants. In this particular case, because they both have the same strength, we're going to look at the values of the card. So the 4 is stronger than either the 2 or the 3, so the 4 will win. So this player takes their cards, puts them there. This gets moved to here, and remember that the purple player played the 2 of bees, which was the lowest on suit card, so they will get to affect the council. And as I mentioned, their faction, their allegiance is going to be the bees, so they're probably going to try to strengthen them up as much as possible. Let's say they, so yeah, they could strengthen the bees in one of 2 ways. They could either break up the cockroaches, which will give 1 to the bees, or break up the ants, which will give 1 to the bees. But the purple player remembers a couple of tricks ago that they played a cockroach at some point, and the yellow player had no cockroaches. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to break up the ants, keep the cockroaches strong since they know the yellow player does not have them. Okay, so the yellow player is going to begin the next trick. Let's say let's say they go ahead and lead with the 3 of ants. The purple player will now follow. Again, they don't have any ants, so they're just going to play 1 of their bees. Let's say they play the 6 of bees, and then the white player is going to then, again, they don't have any ants, so they're going to play either of their cards. And because this bee is winning with 3 strength, either card can be played. Let's say they play the 4 mosquitoes for now. So in this case, everyone played offsuit. So there will be no effect of the council. And the player who played the bees, the purple player, is going to win the trick. So let's say they put these here. They take the lead player marker, and now we are entering the final trick. So let's say they lead with the 1 of bees, and Then the white player plays their 4 flies, and then the purple player plays the yellow player. I was going to say, where is the card? The yellow player can play either of these cards since the lead suit was bees, but it doesn't seem like either is going to matter because the ants and the flies both have 0 and the bees have 3. So let's go ahead and just play the ant just for the heck of it. And that's it. That's the final trick. So let's resolve this. Since nobody followed suit, the council will not be altered. And the player who played the bees, the purple player, will win the trick. So you'll notice that towards the end of the round, this becomes much more stationary, a lot less bobbing and weaving and tactical changes, and a little bit more strategy about how you want to set up your allegiance to be as strong as possible. Now that we've finished the tricks, the players that have an allegiance are going to place their leftover card. Oops, that was the yellow's allegiance. Place their leftover card face down in front of them. And we are going to move on to the next phase, which is the scoring and upkeep phase. During the scoring and upkeep phase, you're going to get points and you're going to add more cubes into the system. The way that the scoring works is you're going to get 1 point for every trick that you've won, and you're going to get 1 point for every cube on your allegiance. So these players are going to simultaneously reveal their allegiances. The purple player is allied with the bees, so they are going to get 3 points. And unfortunately, the yellow player allied with the flies, which has 0 cubes on it, so they are going to get no bonus from that. So now we go ahead and add up the points and move up the scoring markers. So let's start with the purple one. The purple had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tricks and 3 allegiance, so they are going to get 9 points. So they move their marker up to the 9 spot. The yellow player had 1, 2, 3, 4 tricks and no allegiance bonus for them, unfortunately, so they're only going to get 4 points. And then the no allegiance player scores a bit differently. So the no allegiance player is, as I mentioned a few times now, is trying to get 0 tricks. If they happen to win a trick throughout the round, they will get 1 point per trick, just like any other player. But as you can see, they have no leftover cards, so therefore they have no allegiance bonus. In this case, they would only get 1 point for the 1 trick that they've won. But let's go back and play this out the way that it actually occurred. The non-allegiance player was successful. They got 0 tricks throughout the entire round. They're going to get 10 points for doing that, plus 1 point for every cube within the council chambers. So in this case, they're going to get 11 points. So as you can see, it's a very risky move, but it can give you a lot of points. Once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and add new recruits. The way that we do that is we look at the council, and in particular, the faction that has the strongest, the most amount of cubes. This one is going to not get any cubes and everyone else will. So in this case, the cockroaches are the strongest. So the ants, mosquitoes, bees, and flies will get a cube. If there was ever a situation where 2 factions are tied, in this case, the bees and the cockroaches are tied for the strongest, then everyone besides those 2 factions would get it. So the flies, the ants, and the mosquitoes would each get 1, but the bees and cockroaches would not. So in this way, the number of cubes that are entering the system can fluctuate from game to game. The final step here is everyone's going to re-raise their allegiance flags, maybe. Or in this case, they're going to put them upside down. Okay, it's going to have to stay that way. They're going to collect their allegiance cards, put back in their hands so that they are ready to claim allegiance during the next round. We're going to take all the cards, add them back in the deck, shuffle them back up. And then finally, we're going to move the age marker to the next stage. We are then going to repeat that process through the second age. Once again, dealing 11 cards to each player, declaring allegiance, playing 10 tricks, doing the scoring, and then again through the third round. At the end of the third round or age, the player that has the most points wins. Some of the things to keep in mind is that because the cubes are being added throughout the game, as in adding new recruits at the end of the round, the number of allegiance points that are available to be gotten as the game progresses increases, and the possibility of adding cubes into the council chambers also increases as well. So you see there's going to be there sort of build up as we get into the final rounds. And there can be the shoot the moon mechanic of no allegiance. There's a potential of getting a large amount of points, especially near the end. So you're always in the game, even if your scoring marker is way behind. So yeah, that's Bug Council of Backyardia. So like I said, we're really happy with the game. We think there's a lot of great things going on here. It's very tactical. It has a lot of little nuances where you're deducing what another player might be going for, where you're trying to mess with each other a little bit, maybe trying to bluff and keep the details of your hand close to your vest. So that in combination with the Mancala and the trick taking, which work sort of inform each other throughout the game, we find that this game is very has a very nice flow and a very unique implementation of these two mechanics together. So like I said, we're very excited to deliver this to you, and we would really like your support. So if you want to hop over to the Kickstarter and back the game, that'll help us reach some really awesome stretch goals. We have a lot of great things planned for it. If you want to try the game out first, feel free. We have, like I said, the 4 setups on Tabletopia for the 2, 3, 4, and 5 player counts. So go ahead and give the game a shot. If you have any questions at all, just shoot me an email at support@angrogames.com. Or if you prefer, you can send me a DM on Twitter or at me on Twitter. My handle is at Japan Board Gamer. That is capital J, capital B, capital G, at Japan Board Gamer. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you soon.